Hey you guys, so today we're going to be talking about TNA Impact. It's one of those games, at first glance, I really thought it was a Ukes game. Then I had realized it was actually a Midway game, so I was kind of pretty surprised because Ukes usually makes all the wrestling, a lot of the wrestling games from SmackDown versus Raw. I think they started around 99. We'll be talking about them a little later. But right now, I just want to do another honorable mention. I wish I could do it for the 360, but I have to veer off a little bit and go to the PS2. That being said, this game was much cheaper than the 360 counterpart. There's a downside behind that, and that would be the graphics. So, most of the games that are on the 360 are going to look a little bit better, if not a lot better, than the PS2 version. But for $2 and change, it's kind of hard to refuse. But overall, Midway they had gone bankrupt in '09, and what the problem with this game? Everything's amazing. The game's great, but it is very limited. The move sets very limited. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's such a fun game, and I definitely want to keep at it. But the move sets are definitely very limited. The character set, the wrestlers you could choose from, it's very limited. But I will say they're quality characters. A lot of characters are very quality. You're not going to have a hard time finding a character that you want to play as. And that's what they're pretty good with. Granted, I mean, if you wanted a specific wrestler that you really want to play with, and they might not be on the list here because it's very limited as far as the character set goes. But yeah, 2009, Midway was bought out by Warner Brothers, or at least they bought most of their assets. So that sucks because we lose possible TNA Impact remasters, or I'm sure it's very rare that that would ever happen, or even just a brand new version of the game. It's very unlikely, especially because Ukes isn't doing it. If Ukes was, maybe they could, but it's Midway. So but what Midway did manage to do within this game is really the graphics, and the graphics they're very much, if not better. Now this might be a little argumental. You could argue it, but if not better than the WWE SmackDown versus Raw for that time, especially. I think even some of the later years, it might have even been better. If you look at the Booker T models, the Booker T wrestlers while we play, just the wrestlers in general, but Booker T looked solid. He looked like a perfect character. The graphics were perfect, if not good enough. Much better than the counterparts like SmackDown versus Raw '06, '07. The fans, they still were very, not very detailed, but that's just kind of how it is. Usually the fans don't usually get too much detail, but overall the game's pretty good. Like I said, we were missing some move sets. Characters very limited. Great characters. And it's fun, great game. But overall, I'm gonna show you guys how the game plays, and if you guys are interested in it, definitely pick it up. Whether you decide on the 360, the PS2 version, whichever version is better for you. So with this game, there's a great music soundtrack, which is good and bad. It's being that there's a copyright, I can't play any of the music. I might be able to show just a small clip of just the game commentary during that section, but that's about it. For the most part, the music is kind of gonna mess up the gameplay a little bit because I gotta cut it. But on a good note, I do have my buddy James here. He's gonna give his quick overview of TNA Impact.
TNA Impact was a decent game. I played it. To me, it was fun at the time. It was really fun. The story was fun. It had a small roster list. What I mean by small, I mean like 20 to 30, where WWE has like 50 to 70 rosters, if not 80 to 100 on their games. TNA had like 20 to 30 people you could play as. A small list. but still, the storylines in the career mode was fantastic. In my opinion, it was fun. It was challenging in the story mode, which made it fun. So that's my opinion of TNA Impact.
So glad I was able to get him as part of the video for this one. Hopefully we can do some more together, more collabs. But yeah, we pretty much have like very similar thoughts on the matter. But as you could tell, you were able to see some of the characters you could play as before. Just a few. I haven't unlocked everybody yet.
Well, I've got a new look, but I still don't know who I am or how I got here. All I know is that I have this overwhelming urge to slam people into a mat. So either I'm a wrestler or I have anger management issues. Either case, for now, I just want to work off my co-induced atrophy, relearn whatever skills I have, make enough money to live, to avoid being thrown into prison. I decided to take my aggressions out in a wrestling ring. There happened to be a local wrestling competition in town, so I joined up. They put me in. Wow, this place is a piece of work. What's with the chickens? So anyway, here's the deal. This is a gauntlet match. When you win against one, another comes in to take his place. Now, for whatever reason, part of the gimmick is that if you win a gauntlet match, they shower you with pesos and send you to America for an international match at a real United States military base. Some kind of wrestling mock war of nations, I guess. Yeah, something definitely feels right about this.
There we go. Now I get to see some action. It is fairly repetitive, and like I will say that the distance that you could hit the person, it's kind of again not very realistic sometimes, because you can kind of like kick them from like 10 feet away and it'll still hit. So that could be kind of a pain, but overall you can really inflict some real damage. In one scene, I dropped the opponent. Oh, I kicked him out of the ring. Came back around, gave him a flying elbow. It looked rough. It looked bad. So yeah, it looks definitely looks like you inflict a lot of damage. Oh, there's still some moves I could probably learn, but for right now, this is what's just getting me by enough to win. They don't seem to really counter very often. They counter every maybe 5 hits. The first few guys. Still haven't managed to do much leg or arm or head damage. Mostly just chest because I do a lot of kicking. Right now you see I'm trying to kick him over. So you can kick him out of the ring. It looks freaking crazy just like that. Perfect. Right there I was trying to jump on him. I was just a little too late. As you can see, the characters, like the fans in the background, they're not very, detailed, but that's really not what we're paying attention to. Everything else is very spot on. I mean, for PS2 game, you got crisp, just crisp detail as far as the ring goes. The anything that's 3 dimensional is pretty much where it's got to be, kind of how it's supposed to look. And your figure personally is pretty good. The guy I'm beating up on, maybe he's a little pixelated, but you know, he's just a basic stand-in. I really, like I said, if this game had everything it needed to be completed, larger a larger character base and larger move set and just a larger game overall, I think this would be a really good game. Just look at the detail that they put into Booker T. I mean, the TNA Impact version is so much better. And that's WWE 2012. I mean, that's crazy, you know what I mean? And this game was released in fall of 2008. So that says quite a bit. That's 4 years, if not 3. I've heard from a lot of people, and I did notice this, the pinning. When he went to pin me, I pretty much lost right there. I lost then and there because I was using the right stick. Turns out it's a left or right stick. It's very odd, but it works very slowly. It's very buggy, I've heard, as far as trying to get out of a pin. Doesn't really work very well. Ooh. I just like a lot of the aspects, like the rolling. Rolling's kind of cool. You can roll around. You could roll out of the way of some of the top rope jumps, which works sometimes, not always. Oof. The counters are pretty easy, which is cool. It's bare bones though. Like I showed you guys, the game modes very bare bones. With the weapons, I mean, I will say this is probably a downside. As far as weapons go, there's only a chair. I don't think there's tables or ladders from what I've heard. I think it's only a chair you could use as far as weapons. So that's kind of a downside. I haven't seen any blood yet, so that might be a thing. Oh, I don't know what that's supposed to be. It looked like he snapped his neck right there. It's pretty vicious, I will say. Some striking combinations. That's pretty cool. Trying to get the pin as quick as possible. It's You really gotta beat him down. From what I've heard, if you're trying to pin like further in the game, it's very difficult. Like they just don't want to get pinned. There's really nothing to it. Like you could really beat them down pretty badly, and they still it's just a hard to pin. As far as their reversals, it seems like they do a reversal every like 5 shots. I don't know if that's just this character, but just playing through for the last few times, it's been like every 5 punches. Still kind of trying to jump on him, but there we go. Now we get it. 2, 3. Let's go. Now we have to verse two more guys. Hey guys, thanks again for watching, everyone. This was TNA Impact. Like I mentioned, I'm very happy to have my buddy James Barry Wolf on the show. Being able to show us wrestling games is definitely his forte. He knows so much, and he really has his history down to some extent. For this, I'm sure he'll be happy to know that he was part of the video, and I'm hoping to put him in, include him in more of the videos. Maybe we could have a full playing session, together on the channel. But yeah, TNA Impact, definitely something to look out for if you guys could find it. I would recommend it on the 360. Like I said, the graphics is a lot better on the 360, but if you can find it for cheap, the PS2 version's good too. Having a good time, and I just thank you all for watching. Hopefully, we can put out some more. I have a lot of more games to review. This was a PS2 one. You guys know I do try to stick with 360 because I do love the 360. But PS2, if it's affordable and the price is right, I guess we're going to do PS2. Alright, thanks again, everyone.